This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Shaun Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Thursday. How's everybody doing today? Well, the number of ounces of silver needed to buy an ounce of gold at near 30-year highs. Silver is a bargain priced when compared to gold, and it's the perfect time to protect a portion of your savings with silver, and you can do it at Silver Gold Bull. They have wide variety of best value silver for every budget, not to mention all the other precious metals. They're Alberta based, or I should say their headquarters is in Calgary. They started in Rocky Mountain House. And for more details, you just go down in the show notes and reach out to Grahame. It's all sitting there. If you're on silvergoldbull.ca.com, just make sure to reference the Shaun Newman Podcast. Guardian Plumbing and Heating. These guys have been keeping homes, farms, and businesses running smoothly since 2010. And today, they're grand opening of their brand new building. If you're in Lloydminster and you're listening to this, come on over for pancake breakfast. But shout out to Guardian. They have built a brand new shop, and I think that is, super cool. Anytime you get to build something, all the power to them. I hope, they got many bright years ahead of them, and just appreciate them, coming along the ride here on this side with the podcast. And for farmers, this one's for you. The Guardian Efficient Grain Dryer and Guardian Power Station aren't just available here. They're available all across Canada. The Power Station is an absolute game changer, giving you 2-for-1 utilities, heat, and electricity from the same reliable system. It's an innovative way to keep your operation running efficiently and save on energy costs. You can find out more at guardianplumbing.ca. Congrats again, gents, on opening of your new building. Ignite Distribution is a high-service supply company based in Wainwright, Alberta, specializing in automotive parts and wide range of additional products, including safety equipment, welding supplies, fasteners, and janitorial items. Operating as a Napa Auto Parts, you can get in touch with them, 780-842-3433. Say hello to Shane Stafford and his team. And hey, folks, it's that time of year where you can reserve your free ticket for the Expat Money Summit. If you care about your liberty and the right to control your own future, you'll enjoy the group that Mikkel Thorpe is putting together. From October 10th to 12th, Mikkel Thorpe, host of Expat Money Show and speaker at the first Cornerstone Forum, is bringing together top experts from around the world for the Expat Money Online Summit. And here's the kicker. It's completely free to attend. You're going to learn about how to legally protect your wealth, secure second residencies and citizenships, reduce your tax burden, and own property abroad, all to safeguard your freedom. And this year's focus is Latin America, okay? Whether you're looking for an exit plan now or want to secure your offshore plan B as political insurance, this event is absolutely essential for you to attend. And once again, it's absolutely free. You can reserve your free ticket at expatmoneysummit.com. Substack, if you haven't subscribed to it, I don't know what you're doing, but you should go do it. It's free to subscribe to. You can also become a paid member and support the podcast that way. Week in reviews there. It's Thursday, so if you are in Calgary this weekend at the We Unify conference, I will be there. Sounds like they're going to put me to work a little bit, so you might see me around. If you do, please stop and say hello. Would love to, you know me. I love meeting all the new people. I don't care how busy I am. Even when at times I know I look like I've been hit by a truck because I'm, running 100 miles an hour. At this conference, I'm hoping I got a little more free time and would love to sit and have a chat and meet some of you. So if you're there, make sure to say hello. The Cornerstone Forum, it's confirmed, March 28th, okay? Details to follow, venue to follow, but March 28th, 2026. There you go. There's your happy news for a Thursday. We're coming back, Cornerstone Forum, March 28th, 2026. Mark it on your calendars, folks, and pay attention. We'll be releasing more details in the weeks to come. And if you're listening or watching on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble, X, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a review, make sure to hit retweet, make sure to do all the things. And if you're enjoying the show, share with a friend. Let's get on to that tale of the tape. Today's guest is a fitness and health coach, motivational speaker, and content creator focused on personal development, habits, and family life. I'm talking about Tyler Todt. So buckle up. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Shaun Newman podcast. Today, I'm joined by Tyler Todt. Sir, thanks for doing this.
Oh, Shaun, it's an honor, man. We've been trying to connect for a few weeks, busy schedules, but I'm
You know
super
what?
grateful to be here, man.
Here's the wild thing. I first reached out to you because I was curious about this. I was like, when did I first reach out to Tyler? August 4th, 2023. That's when I first started messaging.
No,
Yes,
get out of here, man.
dead
Oh,
serious.
man.
You're so and I put in and then of course like my schedule, your schedule, nothing would work out, and I go like 3 months, and then something would come back up, and I'd be thinking, and I'd see it, I'm like, I should reach out to this guy again. So
Man.
it's been 2 years in the making.
Well, dude, I appreciate the persistence, and then when there's a lot of friction, there's some good things that are about to happen. I always feel like that. So
I'm going to go back to my original thought with you. I admired your openness on your journey of where you started and where you began. I'm sure in that 2 year span, there's been more and more and more. Certainly, we come on the heels of Charlie Kirk and everything going on there. But with you, I guess I was, I saw a lot of positivity coming in a world that we focus so much on the negative. And Tyler, I guess I was just curious, of you telling us a bit about your story and your journey and sharing that with the audience.
yeah, I appreciate that, Shaun. Yeah, so really, this is a choice. If you would have asked me and known me 10, 12, 15 years ago, no one would have described me as a positive guy. I dropped out of college to play professional poker at like 19. It was really fun, and I traveled the world doing that for a few years, met a gal, got married pretty early. That didn't work out. And then when we went our separate ways, I just kind of hit a really low point in my life where, okay, now I'm a college dropout. I'm 27, I'm 28. I don't have a lot going for me. I have a lot of money that I've made and stored up, but I don't know what to do with it. I kind of felt lost and aimless. And to be honest, I spent the next year or two just sort of searching for some kind of meaning in life. It can't just be that I'm trying to accumulate a higher number in my bank account. That can't be the purpose. And then I just die one day, right? So I'm like, there's got to be something. So I was pretty depressed, to be honest. At this time, I weighed, I think, 149 pounds. I never went to the gym. I ate like crap. I didn't sleep very well. Just kind of doing things kind of in a not great way. And so the first thing that changed me is I just met a great buddy at a bar named Colby. And he was there watching a game with some buddies, and I was watching a game with some buddies. And I'm a pretty friendly guy, and the guy was built like a Greek god. And I just asked him, like, holy cow, bro, like, what do you do? And he was just a super nice guy, and we struck up a friendship. And he said, you know what, Ty, if you really want to know, that this can change your life, like, meet me at the gym tomorrow at 5 a.m. And so I took him up on that. It was like 11:30 at night, and I was a few beers deep, but I just said, okay, man, like, whatever, we'll do it. And so I met him at 5 a.m. It was him and 3 or 4 other friends. And I just started working out with these guys 5-6 days a week. And I didn't know it at the time, but this is one of the best trainers in the city of Chicago. Like, Chicago Bears players paid him hundreds of dollars an hour to train with him. And this guy, when I described Colby, and I've reached back to him so many times with thanks, he started to make me see life in a different way. Like, he would show up to the gym at 5 a.m. and high five the staff and thank them for coming in and setting everything up and making such a great environment for us. And like, he'd high five the janitor and thank him for, like, man, cleaning up the bathrooms and just making it a great place for us. And then we'd go to lunch, and he would just maybe get bad service, but he'd thank the people there. And he's like, oh, I try and make their day. And it was this new sort of radical way of thinking about life for me. And I just saw this guy is so happy all the time. He was joyful. Maybe bad things happened to him, but he had this joy about him. And I just told him one day, I'm like, I want to be like this, man. And so I just, I got really into fitness, got really into health. I got certified as a trainer a year later. I went from 149 pounds, like 165 pounds in the next 18 months, just lifting weights for the first time and getting healthy. And that was the genesis of what started to really turn my life around. And there was one more key figure in there, a preacher by the name of Eddie Lowen. Once I started to get a little healthy, I just reached out to him and said, hey, man, I grew up in church, but I'm not sure I believe it, or I'm not sure what to think about this stuff. And he just offered to meet me for a cup of coffee and challenged me with a bunch of questions and said, you're a really smart guy. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but study it. Just see what you think is more logical. And if we're here by accident and none of this matters, or there's a creator and there's a bigger purpose for your life and the reason we're here. And so, little by little, I started to go that route too. And I'd say the combination of those two things, starting with my health and taking control of not only what I put into my body, but the fact that I moved it every day and exercised. I wanted to be more positive and around people like that instead of just going to bars and nightclubs. And then I started to get this element of faith on the other side of that too. So that was a huge tipping point for me, and where everything sort of started to change.
Yeah, well, I can attest to the faith portion. That's on the podcast. It's not what I seeked out. If you go back to the very beginning, I wouldn't say that's what I was searching out. I was searching out how the world worked. And that's a large question. And it took me a long time to even start to come to terms that that's what I was trying to do. And then as you try and understand and put the puzzle pieces together, you get a whole bunch of things that you did not plan on. And so you go back to your conversation with Kobe 11:30 at night on a bar and showing up and doing one little act and how that's changed your life. I think it's a pretty healthy message for anyone sitting and listening to this today. It's like you wanna change tomorrow. It starts pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't have to be this giant shift. It could be something very, very simple that can lead to really great things.
I think that's what I've learned over this like 7-8 year self-improvement journey now too, is that, man, like I used to think that people that were, maybe had the body that I admired, they knew something I didn't, or they took steroids, or they had these cheat codes that I didn't have, or people that were successful at business and lived life on their terms and kind of created their own schedule. They just knew things that I didn't, or they had these special powers that I didn't. And I am as average of a dude as you can get, man. I grew up in a town of 700. Like there's nothing special about me at all. Outside of just one day, I got on my knees and said, like, this is not going to be my story anymore. And I don't know what faith meant to me back then, but I'm like, I'm going to keep exploring it and go this direction. And I'm going to cut out some of these other bad things in my life that I know don't make me feel good. And I'm just going to go all in on really 4 or 5 main things in my life and focus on those things and never look back. And again, nothing special about me, but man, now I sit here at 41 and I've been married 11 years to just an absolutely amazing, she's like an angel on earth. I never would have got her had I not been working out and more positive, because she's one of the most positive people on the planet. We have 3 amazing kids and we're financially free and a lot of great things. And again, I'm no one special. It just started with those small decisions, like you said.
When you say you cut out the bad, I'm curious, what did you cut out?
Oh man, so there's a lot. So as a professional poker player, man, I was in a kind of a degenerate lifestyle, I would say, for a while. Nightclubs and drinking 3, 4, 5 times a week. And not just like, oh, let's have a beer with a buddy, but like, let's get blackout until 4 a.m. kind of thing, let's go chase women kind of thing. And so that was a pretty easy one to say, man, am I happier when I'm waking up feeling like death because I'm hungover, or when I get up early and go to the gym and take walks and like hang around these certain types of people? Like I just had to ask myself that question, and so cutting that out was a big step. I went from drinking 4 or 5 days a week to maybe now 4 or 5 times a year, something like that. That was a big one. A huge one for me, and this is something a lot of guys don't talk about, but pornography, like casual pornography and viewing of that. I feel like it's very demonic. It's very evil. It makes you see women in a different light. That like my wife is the only person that should have that for me, and the only person I should have that for. I should never be viewing other women in that way. So that was a big one to give up. Mainstream media news was a huge one. Like when I say I'm only really good at 4 or 5 things, man, I don't know what Trump's doing today. I don't really care. I'm really focused on my mission and the calling God has for my life. And I block out a lot of that noise. If the story's big enough, it'll find you. I don't feel any less informed, but I don't spend any of my time, honestly, seeking out news anymore. I don't feel like it's objective. I feel like it's meant to program you and give you certain sort of biases. And so I gave up that. There's been 100. I mean, a lot of friends, I hate to say this, but as you grow through life, a lot of those bar buddies, turns out they were just drinking buddies. They weren't real friends, because when I stopped going to the bars and I invited them on walks or pickleball or tennis or hikes or frisbee, some of them came, and that's awesome, but some of them didn't, and that's okay too. But I had to lose some of those people, I think, in my past too.
The things you listed off: alcohol, pornography, mainstream news, and then I mean, friends is kind of a, you gave them the choice. Hey, come, we're gonna go do something healthy. Per se, and some chose, some didn't. But you point back to some. It's kind of like the ease of life in North America, at least, right? I can't sit here and act like I know how the rest of the world works, but you think pornography. As a kid, we always laugh because you had the Sears catalog, right? The old bra section was a real sucker for
You
young
waited
kids.
all month, man, as an
That's right.
11-year-old boy for that Sears catalog, you know?
And I mean, other than that, like, how did you find pornography? There was the gas stations that had the section of magazines, and I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some, but then comes along the internet, and okay, that's okay, fair, but then comes along the cell phone, and now it's like you can have porn at any point in time in your life.
Yeah.
Any time of day you want it, you just make one click and it's sitting there. And then you think like alcohol. I mean, in COVID or during the lockdowns here where I am, what were the things that didn't get shut down? Was in Canada, weed's legalized. So weed stores, there's any street corner you want, pretty much drugs are sitting there. Alcohol never shuts down. And so, and then of course, mainstream news makes complete sense to me. It seems like it's easy. And yet on this side, the alcohol thing. So this year I haven't been drinking. First time I've ever, I've done a month, maybe 45 days without it. But I've been thinking about this for like, it's going on like 7 years of like, I think I want to do this. And it took a lot of like getting over my own thought processes on it. Almost my own putting my own little hurdle. And now, like, what is it? It's September. What's that? 9+ months in. Wow. I'm actually kind of shocked at how, don't get me wrong. There's a couple times hockey player on this side, you're sitting in the dressing room, everybody's having a beer. You're like, oh, or you're sitting around the campfire. Oh, but overall it's been heck of a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
I love that, man. And a question I constantly ask myself, I actually do a monthly audit of my own life every month. And the question I ask at the very end of that is, are my habits serving me or am I serving them? And that's where I landed on alcohol, where I was like, man, there's so many nights where I like the idea of having 1 or 2 drinks with a buddy, but man, it turns into 10. And then I feel like crap the next day. And then because I feel like crap, I don't sleep well. And because I don't sleep well, I eat that. And it just causes this cascading cycle. And so I just actually wrote down rules for myself with alcohol where I didn't necessarily want to go to 0, because I'm like, to be honest, when my wife and I go on vacation and we don't have kids, I really do enjoy having a couple glasses of whiskey with her while she has a couple glasses of wine. And it's super fun and we get super flirty, and I suck at dancing, but I'll go out and dance when I have a couple whiskeys and, and so I'm like, I feel like I got to a point in life where alcohol serves me. I drink it maybe 5-6 times a year, maybe. But every time I do, I actually write out how many drinks I'll have before I go. I put a water in between it. I refuse to ever drink when my wife's not present. And so I just have these rules around it where it serves me. And so maybe for you, it's like, hey, just abstinence, my life is way better. And that's the best. But I think for some guys out there that might be listening, or girls, like, yeah, it's kind of scary to think I'll never have another drink again. And it's like, well, maybe just reframe that and think, how can it serve you? And that's a question I always love to ask myself or clients, people I'm coaching, things like that.
Well, a friend and me were talking the other day. This is probably actually 3 weeks ago. He was saying, I was wrestling with not drinking ever again because, like you, when you bring up your wife, it's one of the things that really attracted me to some of your posts, right? Is I look for men that are trying to be healthy in their lifestyle. But even more so than that, I think a healthy lifestyle is like a healthy relationship with your spouse. And I'm not saying they're not out there. There are. But when I scroll social media, I just don't see it all the time. Yeah. And so your posts, I'm like, oh, I like that. I really like that. And that's why I kept reaching out, because I'd forget about it, right? I do 5 shows a week and I get rolling along, and then a post would come up. And I'm like, that's a Tyler again. And then I go to message him. I'm like, oh yeah, I messaged him already. Okay, let's follow back up on it. And so that's why when you go, oh, I love your persistence. Well, it's your consistent posting online and me following you, and it's slowly coming through the noise and seeing how healthy it is. That really stuck out to me. And when you go to the drinking thing, I like that it's like, well, I only drink when my wife's around. Like, that makes complete sense to me. It makes a ton of sense. And I go back to the conversation I was having with a friend about 3-4 weeks ago. And I was just, I don't know if I was struggling or maybe I was just having one of those weak moments where you're going to whine. And he's like, well, how much better has life been not drinking? And I'm like, I don't even know if I can put a 10X on it. It's been so much better. And he's like, well, why? I'm like, well, any morning I want to get up, I get up. And when I got things to do, I get them done. And I just don't have the Friday night where you go in for, I'm going to have one. And then you're having a good time, and I know how it goes. And all of a sudden you've had 10. You're like, it's not that big a deal. But then that bleeds into, is it a day? Is it 2 days? Is it a tough conversation with your spouse or your kids? Because I know how I get after I haven't slept well, and I'm a bit grumpy and I'm groggy and all the things. And he's like, oh, it sounds like your life is like way better. Why would you ever go back? I'm like, it's a good point. Maybe I'm having a whiny moment,
I think we all have those though too. And that's why I think it's good to have people in your life like your buddy, it sounds like. And that's why I think as you sort of grow as a person, it's okay that some friends come in for a season. And then kind of as you keep growing as a person, I think you attract other people around you that are like that. Like if I had to make a guess, I'd say you might, maybe when you were partying in your party phase or drinking a lot all the time, maybe you didn't have buddies around you that would have said something to you like that. But that's a great friend that can just kind of help you. Hey, man, take a breath. Shaun, just let me ask you a question. And then you can kind of get from that lizard brain into your conscious logical brain and think, yeah, like my life is good. It is better. It has 10, So it's I think it's great to surround yourself with people like that. And to your point on even seeing my posts and things, that's why I'm so grateful for social media now. Because, man, like Shaun, the odds of me and you ever getting to chat
0.
30 years ago were 0, right? Like, I was going to be friends with who I worked with and some of my neighbors. And that was it. Like maybe on a vacation, you make a cool buddy and you try and call each other once a year. It's just that's it, man. And now I get to connect with people like you who, man, I want to be better. I'm working at these things. And I've built a whole network now of just men in my life where I guarantee you, if I show up and I have a belly hanging out and they see that I've been drinking, I'll have men that will tell me some very hard truths about you're not being the husband and the father and the Christ follower and the guy that we know you're created to be. Like I'll have some guys say that to me. And I think that's an amazing thing about online. And to even take that a step further, you kind of mentioned our phone and pornography is a click away. So is the Bible app, and like I read my Bible every day on my phone and I use social media. Again, it serves me. I seek out positive, I put positive things out, those things come back. And so I think you go back to just life is really like a mirror and what you're putting out is what's going to come back to you eventually. And so, if somebody, social media is so toxic, I would always challenge that narrative. You're looking for toxic and you're putting out toxic. You're clicking on links and they're giving you more of those things of people fighting or politicians yelling, or that's what they're showing you is what you're clicking. So if you seek out people that are, man, just trying to help you live a better life and they're really positive and they're saying positive things that can help your life, you're going to get more of that too. And so I think people need to take ownership around those things because, man, it is a huge gift. We've never lived in all of human civilization. It's never been like this, where I have access to the smartest people in the world through Twitter. I can literally ask them a question and they'll respond most of the time. Like that's insane. Like that we can just do that and we can form communities with people. I hosted a conference here in Vegas 2-3 weeks ago where 60 people from all over the world. We had a New York Times bestseller come. We had a lady followed by 11 million people really high up in the fitness and marriage space come and present, and just people from all over that wanted the same things. And again, that wasn't possible until 10, 12, 15 years ago.
You host a conference. Walk me through this. As a man who hosts a conference, and I slowly came across that by following other high profile people in the podcast world, I guess. I'd started by doing events like once every 3 months and I burned myself out of it. And I actually took like 8 months off. I was like, I actually don't know what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to do? And then I did my first conference and I still didn't know what I was trying to do. I just felt like really compelled that I needed to do this. And it dawned on me after the last Cornerstone Forum this past May, folks, that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm bringing together my community and bringing people that have really impacted my life and putting them on stage and allowing them to interact with the people who listen to the show and others, I might add. I'm always open to having whoever wants to come to it. Please feel free to come because it's that type of environment. But with you hosting a conference, I'm curious, is it an annual thing? And then what is the goal of what you're trying to do, Tyler?
Yeah, so I mean, this is just a Holy Spirit God thing, to be honest. So I didn't even set out to start a social media brand or anything. I was a bank manager and had pretty, like fine doing it. And then I just started. I felt this tug from the Lord 5 years ago to just start sharing your life. That was the voice I heard. Share your life, man. You've had a pretty interesting story. I've brought you out of some really hard pits. Just share that with people. I mean, after like 4 months of tweeting every day, so I promised myself and God 6 months I'll tweet every day. I won't miss a day. And I'll engage. And I had some same rules I set around alcohol, I set around that. 5 months in, I believe I had 460 followers. I'd made exactly $0. And I'm like, what a waste of time. The 5 months and 2 weeks, I have a couple tweets go absolutely viral. And now I've got thousands and thousands of followers. And now people are interested in what I have to say every day and things like that. And then it gets pretty fun. And then if you fast forward a few months later, a doctor and a couple other guys just messaged me and said, will you throw a retreat, a live event? We love your stuff. We'd love to come meet you in person. Just put this together. I didn't know what that meant. I'm still a bank manager, but I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. So I just get a giant Airbnb. I start posting online. These guys come. I think we had 8 guys come. We worked out together. We took some hikes together. We prayed together. We did breath work together. We talked about what it is to be a great man and a great father and a great leader and all these things, right? We shared ideas. I equate it to like good old, like if you go back in time, man, like a grandfather sitting around a campfire, sharing wisdom. And that's what that felt like, right? We had a couple nights where we sat around a campfire and everybody shared their wisdom. We're all taking notes. We're all getting better. Iron sharpening iron in those moments. And so then it clicked for me. I need to bring the online community to the real world. And so I started hosting retreats like you every few months. I got burned out really quick, man. I think I hosted 6 or 7 of them. And dude, they take a lot out of you, man, between the planning. Then obviously you've got to be on and high energy for 14 hours a day for 3 straight days. And so I would come back from these pretty burned out. And so then I took a little time off and I thought, instead of just 10-person retreats, can we throw a big conference and an event? And so this was year 1. And it wasn't like a normal conference where you'd come and sit and listen to speakers. Like I had a morning hike at sunrise, 5 a.m. I led that. Then we went and all took ice baths. So most of the people had never done an ice bath, but this is about getting uncomfortable and pushing yourself. I named the conference Into the Arena, like get off the sidelines of life and get into the arena, get into the fight, right? And so we all did ice baths. Everybody's cheering, dude, 50 people around you celebrating when you get in the ice. It was like the vibes were amazing. After that, dude, we had like push-up contests. And then I had instructors that were leading through yoga and things like that. So this is all outdoors. And then everybody went home and took a shower and came back. And we had a couple hours of speakers. And then we catered dinner and did all kinds of stuff like that. But my whole goal with this, and it will be an annual thing, is to keep growing it year over year and really connect that online community to an in-person community, because there's nothing that beats it, man. Like we can chat every day online, but bro, when I hug you and you hug me and we go do a workout together and we talk about our families and now you show me pictures of your kids and I feel that passion behind you and you feel mine, like we're linked for life at that point, I feel like, and so that's what I'm really trying to do at this point more than anything, is just build that community that wants to get together a couple, 3 times a year and just share life and get better and just say, man, at faith, at fitness, at family, at finances, these are the things we all want to get better at. So let's just come and get better and share what we're learning.
You sold me. When's your conference? And where is it? Is it always
the next one will be in Arizona? It'll be about a year from now. So we're looking mid-September. I'll be announcing it in probably about 2 months. We're finalizing a place right now. And then I want to get a couple of the key speakers, like the big names, before we really announce it yet.
Sure.
So
I know the drill. I know the drill. Yeah, believe me.
Probably 2 months out, but I promise you, I'll message you, man.
Yeah, I'm within a week. I know people are just are annoyed with me because I finished the Cornerstone Forum year 2 in Calgary, Alberta, and I'd had the lead up to it where I'm sure you can feel the pain. I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this yet. And this was so much work. And I was having one of those weak moments. I had a guest in the studio. I'm talking to him and he's like, what are you talking about? You love this. You know you do. And it was funny. I'm not drinking at the Cornerstone Forum. I woke up the next morning after having the longest, greatest day. And it was like 6 a.m. And my brain was already like, so we're going to call this event back and And I'm like, yeah, I should probably send an email. And I'm sitting there and I'm sending an email Sunday morning after I just worked your absolute bag off to get it done and everything else. And now I sit here in September and I know there are people going, when is it? It's March 27th, 28th, folks. There's no
There we
doubt in
go.
my mind. It's just a question of the venue. And that has been taking everything out of me. So I know all about the lead up and everything else of announcing speakers. And it just sounds really cool what you're building, I guess, is what I'm saying on this side. From one builder to another, what I hear of what you're trying to do and some of the experience you're trying to provide, I'm like, that's super cool. Like once again, it's probably why for 2 years I've been slowly like, you keep coming up. I'm like, I should just have this guy on. Why haven't I done that yet? And and it's just been timing. It's all about timing. And you quote some different scripture and point back to the Bible, and God has his timing on everything. And I certainly think there's a reason why this is happening right now. And, and I don't know, I can't begin to understand why that is, right? I think your message would have been great 2 years ago, but here we sit in 2025, and certainly my brain went, isn't this, because we booked this how many months ago? And I go, everything with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And how sad I've been on this side as a man who never met him, never heard him speak in person, certainly had seen him online, but I'm like, we just need to have some things to bring some people up. And I guess my long winded response is it just feels like the perfect time to have somebody on to talk about there's good out there in the world, and you need to search it out as much as you search out the bad, right? And trying to understand things.
And this has been a very emotional week, man. Probably, and if I would guess, Shaun, you felt the same as me. I was on Twitter live and saw the actual thing, and I wish I could take that back, man. I mean, nobody should see that, just the horrific. And my first prayers, if I'm very open and honest, were like, God, like I want vengeance. Like this evil, it's so demonic. And then I see people celebrating it, and it's just, that broke a part of me, because I think I always kind of assumed, man, there's like 3 or 4% that are just absolutely insane on the left, and there's 3 or 4% that are absolutely insane on the right. But let's be like, most of us are like, we want the same stuff, man. We want families and homes and lower tax. We kind of all want similar, just good lives. And I don't know, there was people that I never in a million years would have thought would openly celebrate the assassination of a husband and a father. I mean, the guy's his 5-year-old ran towards him when she saw her dad got shot and said, "Daddy." His wife is now having to tell his daughters, like, Daddy's on a special mission with Jesus. He's not coming home. Like, I don't know how anyone can celebrate that. And then to see the absolute evil in the media now, that's just making, a lady got fired at one of the papers for just literally making up a quote that he never said black female pilots shouldn't fly planes. Like, she just literally made it up out of no. She got fired. They're suing the paper, but like, people are just coming out of the woodwork to defame this guy. And the scary part to me, and I tweeted this the other day, is like, there's 100,000 hours of this guy. Anybody can just go out there and watch him. I've watched many hours of it, a lot in the last week. I don't even agree, of course not, with everything he says. I don't agree with my wife on everything she says, or my dad, or like, it's if that's the expectation, like, then nobody's going to follow anybody, right? But this is a really good man. And his main message, to be honest, is like, have a mission bigger than yourself, love the Lord, marry one woman, don't be promiscuous, have children, be a great dad, be there for them. And it's like, if people really hate that message so much, it sort of terrified me a little bit. That I was just seeing this hate around this guy. And for a couple of days, man, I was pretty lost. I didn't sleep the first 2 nights. Like, I literally just kept waking up and seeing that image, and I couldn't. And then, dude, I went to the gym about 48 hours after it happened, and I just put on a bunch of praise music. And I just felt this tug about halfway through, man. I just drove to my church, and I sat in the parking lot, and I didn't know what I was doing. Our church is 10 minutes from our house. And then I just saw a couple people walking up, and I got out of my car and I went to him and I said, I just need to pray with somebody. Will you guys just pray with me? And dude, after 10 minutes, they were crying. I was crying. We were all hugging. And I felt like God just sort of restored a piece of my soul then. And I've said since, man, I feel like my faith before that was at about a 90 out of 100. And now it's at 190 out of 100. Like, I am just so all in to be one of the warriors for Christ and to continue his mission and to keep preaching this positive message of like, we need great dads. We need great Christ followers. I think we tried this experiment, man, in the West without God, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And you don't have to agree with everything, and I don't have to agree with everything of you, but tolerance goes both ways, and you're going to be tolerant of what we believe too. And I think people have kind of just had enough of this, like, wow, we're just going to give an inch, give an inch, give an inch, give an inch, give an inch. And then before we know it, there's 787 genders. Women are dominating male sports. People are getting assassinated on both sides, and there's so much division and hate. And it's like, how did we get here? And when I look at it, it's like, well, we lost our roots. We lost our guiding principles, which is the 10 Commandments and the Bible and faith, and just the decency of being an honorable man, and wanting to put good things out into the world. And the one really good thing I think of all of this, man, is I am seeing a revival unlike any other. I mean, at my church, we baptized more youth last Sunday than I've ever seen online. And this is probably just because of my brand and my positivity. I had 33 people. I went back and counted because my mom asked me the other day. 33 people say, I haven't been to church in decades or read my Bible in decades, and I started this week. I'm all in. And to me, this isn't a political thing at all. This is a heart thing and a soul thing and a mind thing. And I think if not now, when? If strong men aren't going to stand up now and say, no, we believe in this, we're unashamed of it, and our nation and our society is going this way, we're going to, by whatever, I'm protecting my children from this stuff. Like, if we see evil is out there so clearly, then the only logical conclusion is that there's also good. And like, for me, it was like, I just saw demons this week, literal demons celebrating a guy's death. And if there are demons, then it gives me hope that there's also angels and there's also a lot of good. And so for 48 hours, man, I was pretty tore up. I was pretty broken. And like you, I'd never met him. I'd seen his stuff online, but I felt like I lost a brother. That's how it felt to me. And it still does. And I've told a lot of the people in my men's group that I lead, man, we had a whole discussion around this. And we just said, this has got to be the point that any piece of lukewarm that you were has to be gone. It has to. Like, lines are being drawn, and you are either all in for Jesus and the Lord and you're going this direction, or you're not. And you're a part of that other thing, whatever that is. And so, I have a lot of faith and hope that there's going to be a revival unlike anything we've ever seen because of this. I saw the other day where he had 9,000 chapters and now there's 32,000 applications. And I think it's going to spread like wildfire. And again, I'm not a political guy. If you were to ask me, like, I don't necessarily love Donald Trump very much, to be honest. I think he's pretty divisive and he does some good things and some bad things. I think it's ridiculous. He's Hitler. He's the best thing ever. Like, most people fall in the middle, and he does some good things and some bad things. I don't really like his leadership style, to be honest. I think he's pretty divisive. And so I don't look at this as a political thing. I look at this as a heart and a spiritual thing. And I do really feel like, man, I don't know if you feel it up north, but I feel it here in the States where there's just like a revival, just something like we haven't seen in our nation in a long time. And so I'm very hopeful for that.
Well, I'd written about it on Substack. So if anyone listening wants to go see what I wrote, you just go to the Substack and you can see it. But I showed two things. One was I got sent a C.S. Lewis quote, and it was, "Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pain, and it is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." When I read that, I've got a ton of time for C.S. Lewis.
Chills,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. And I still think about that. I'm like, so when you talk about a revival, I think seeing a man who, I think most people, do you got to agree with everything? No. I mean, like, this show, I always go like, you don't have to agree with everything a guest says. Actually, you probably shouldn't. You should probably
That'd be weird. Yeah, that'd be weird, right? Like,
I think that's probably a cult somewhere, right?
Right.
And so I got this lovely audience that are smarter than me, and they send things that just, now I got to sit and stew on that. And C.S. Lewis, I've read a ton of C.S. Lewis since, I found Jesus, and certainly that has illuminated a lot of different things, as much the Bible certainly, but C.S. Lewis has been an interesting character of the past that has illuminated a lot. And it's, of course, a quote that gets sent to me that I'm like, oh man, I got to sit and think on that. The other one was DB Cooper on Twitter. He had said, I think I figured it out. The assassination is hitting deeper than normal, and I didn't know why. I'm not one who emotionally attaches to celebrities or public figures. I know death is not the end and find comfort in that. I agree with that 100%. And he said, so why is it hurting so bad? Because the Holy Spirit is in mourning, and that Spirit is in all of us believers. Charlie was a light in this world who was bringing the good news to everyone. He was leading by example. We're not capable of understanding God's plans, but just as Jesus wept for Lazarus, the Spirit weeps for Charlie. And I thought, that's a pretty profound thought too. And I sit and I agree with so much of what you're saying, because I'm sitting on this side, married man who's I have a lot of guiding principles, or a lot of things that I've really started to focus in on, and one being the family, being married to one woman, supporting my kids in the best way possible, and then usually the best way possible is making sure that I can be there for them, and be healthy and healthy of mind as well. And the Bible has just been, I wake up every morning, and I was sitting at breakfast this morning. I don't know what the kids think, but I'm sitting there and I read Proverbs every morning, rain or shine. I sit out, I have a coffee, and I chuckle about what's in there in the best possible way, because I'm like, I went 30 some years with my mother telling me, you need to read the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm sure she gifted me one a year, and I don't know what I ever did with them. But now it's become the thing that sits on my bedside table, because whenever I'm feeling weary or just like I'm lost, you flip open those pages, and it gives you direction awfully quick.
Yep, man, it's the living word. I think it's the only book that you could just reread over and over. Even if you just never leave Proverbs. Like, I've done Proverbs challenges. I've read through Proverbs probably more than any book of the Bible too. Just, it reads like tweets. It's just like it fires like a piece of wisdom that just hits you, and you're like, oh man, yes, and it really is the living word. I believe that for a long time I was intimidated by, maybe I won't understand it, or even as a Christian, I kind of had this excuse of, well, I'll let other preachers, they've studied it, I'll let them explain it to me. And I think that's awesome. And I think you should go to church. And again, I'm grateful to live in a time, I listen to 3 or 4 sermons a week. I got preachers all over the country that I'm at the gym, I put a YouTube on, and I get to, get the word preached to me there. But nothing beats opening your Bible. And that's just been a really big revelation for me in the last few years, that you shouldn't go a day. I truly, the verse that hit me, that opened my eyes to this, was, you need to give God your first fruits. And I used to think that was just money. So, okay, we tithe, our 10% goes to God and we're good. And I thought, what's more valuable than money? Time and energy, and where your heart goes. And so now I look at that as like, man, first thing, but when I get up, I'm not giving my clients any attention. I'm not even going to give my kids or my wife. I'm going to get up before everybody, and I'm going to read the Bible so that God can pour into me, so that then I feel like only then am I okay to go be a husband and be the best father. Because man, I can't really do it on my own, and I feel like that's been the big revelation for me, man. So I definitely feel very strongly everything you're saying.
Yeah. I was trying to pull up real fast. There's a scripture. I can't, somebody driving somewhere is going to be like, they're going to text it to me. But there's scripture in the Bible that talks about the word being food for the body, food for your bones, something along that lines. I can't, it's bugging me, because I'm like, here's 2 that came up. I searched it real fast. Man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. But I feel like there's something else that I'm missing. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Brings the fear of the Lord brings health to your body and nourishment to your bones.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm looking for, because it's in Proverbs. I'm sure it's in Proverbs, because
I want Proverbs 3:7 and 3:8. That's it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it might be, if that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, that talks about bringing health to your body and nourishment to your bones. But I don't know if that's the verse you're talking about.
I feel like it probably is. I'm going to flip open my Bible when we're all done with this because it's going to annoy me now that I can't spit it out. And, I go back to it. When I'm having, like the Charlie Kirk thing, once again, I'm like, why is this bothering me? I understand certain points of that, but like on a different level.
Yeah.
And whenever I get to those moments, flipping it open and just reading from it, just brings peace back to life. One of the greatest things that I discovered over the course of this podcast was Jesus. And it didn't come easy. Let me tell you, you mentioned some dark pits where God pulled you out of them. I've been in some dark pits. I've been in some lows, and that has been one that when you talk about drawing a line and making sure one of the or standing firm where your beliefs are. One of the things I admired about Charlie is because when you talk about the hundreds of hours, there's like thousands and thousands of hours of content of him online. You go listen to it. Now, I don't know. It might not be in the first video you see, but you go listen to a full. I'm a firm believer in like listening to a full hour-long conversation, so somebody doesn't cherry pick the one sentence they like. It's in everything he did. Like, I mean, it's just right there. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And as a man on this side, I don't know your thoughts. I'm like, I need to be better at that. I feel like at times I am. Certainly it's a journey and you don't get there overnight, but that's one of the things that I really admired of watching some of the things he did is how it just was at the forefront of everything he was talking about.
He had an amazing ability, I think, a person would come up very often and yell at him and accuse him of the worst things in the world. You're a racist. You're all the things nobody wants to ever be accused of. And he would let him speak. And sometimes other people around him, his supporters, would start booing. And he would often say, we have free speech. Let's let them speak. And then the thing he did so brilliantly that I've really learned from, and I want to just be so much better at this moving forward, is he would instantly try and find some common ground with people always. Like, no matter how radical they were, he would ask a question usually and be like, okay, so we can agree on that. And then most of the time that would disarm them a little bit. And okay, you're a human being. I'm a human being. Maybe we think a little different, but we can agree on this, right? And then he might say, hey, what do you think on this? And they might say something, well, I think way over this way. And he'd say, here's where we're going to differ. Here's what I think. And he would very often root it in the Bible. And then he would ask them, well, where do you, and okay, well, we're just going to disagree on that. But he'd be very kind about it and just, it's okay that we're going to disagree on this, but I'm going to present my evidence and maybe make you think. And I've even gotten just better at that this week with trolls on Twitter. I mean, I have 250,000 followers on Twitter, so not a day goes by that I'm not getting a lot of trolls, right? And so I used to just dismiss them very quickly or maybe even snap back at them often. And I've just, let's take a breath. And that's a human being and just, hey, can we find a little common ground here? Now, some people are just so vile that, you're going to say certain things. I'm just going to block you. But like for most people, man, I'm going to throw at least a branch out and say, can we find a little common ground here? Because he was just so masterful at that. And I also think, man, it's pretty terrifying that he does have 100,000 hours out and that they have cherry picked like 3 things, most of them that aren't true. And how many people just believe that now? They could just go watch themselves, anybody. But it's like that.
But that's a lesson for all of us because that happens on any side of the court. Mm-hmm. You cherry pick a few things they say, then you already assume you know everything about the person.
Yep.
And
imagine if you judged me or you, Shaun, on the worst 3 things we've ever said in our life. I mean, I'd be crucified. I'd be dead. And I think almost every human would. I even said that. Do you remember the thing in the news a few weeks ago about that woman who stole a baseball from a little kid? And like everybody was outraged about, let's cancel her, let's fire her from her job. And my comment was like, maybe she found out her mom had cancer that day. Maybe she's having the worst day of her life. Maybe her life is so sad right now that like that one ball was just, she thought that was going to make her happy. Maybe we should show a little grace and try and find a little common ground. And not just be so quick to cancel everybody and assume we know everything about them off of one really poor 40-second interaction.
I try my best at that. I try my best.
Yeah.
You can run into people every single day where you're like, I've had those days where I'm looking for the fight. I'm looking for it. Let's go. Yeah. You want to go? Let's go. And to just try and be like, how's your day going?
Mm.
Because you know when you talk about Charlie being masterful at disarming people, that's what it is. It's like, just, what's going on, like
Yeah.
maybe just haven't had anyone care about you for a long time or ask you how your day is, or what you're going through. Because one of the things that all of us human beings share in, or we all are sharing in, the experience, is all of us got problems in our day to day. And one
Mhm.
of the things I am extremely thankful is I got a loving wife, 3 healthy kids. And when I go home, even as some days the kids can absolutely put some gray hairs on my head, maybe remove a few, like, it's a healthy place to be. And I love being around it. And sometimes they can argue about these silliest things where you're like, you guys are driving me nuts.
Yeah.
But it is a healthy space. And not everybody has that. And certainly the way the trends are going with divorce or
Yeah.
list off the problems,
That's right, man. One thing that's really opened my eyes, my wife and I, was it 3.5 years ago, we did foster care. So we had one bio daughter. It was a very tough pregnancy for my wife, and she was told she could never have kids, to be honest, when we got married. So we assumed we were going to adopt. We got pregnant on the honeymoon, by the way, after multiple doctors told her she couldn't have kids. But it was not an easy pregnancy, so we knew that would be the only one. So we did foster care, and I always assumed before going into foster care and adoption that every child had at least one parent in their life that kind of cared about them. Like I grew up with 2 and grandparents down the road that loved me. And I just had such a privileged, like, awesome life that I had a lot of people around me. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any resources or, but I had people around me that loved me. And I just kind of always assumed somewhere in the back of my head, like every kid had that. And man, being in the foster care system, we fostered 7 children. Um, and it opened my eyes that a lot of these kids have no one. Like, you'll meet a kid in the system that's 15 years old, that's been to 17 homes, that's been abused in some of those homes. And then you realize, like, those people become adults and they've never had one person say a kind thing to them, encourage them, tell them you can. And it makes a lot of sense to me then and I often think about that when somebody will come at me online or say a really hurtful thing. I'm like, hurt people. And they're probably just in a really bad place, and they probably never had anybody show them empathy, love, kindness, grace, any of the fruits of the Spirit, compassion, joy, peace that we're supposed to be emulating as Christ followers. And so I think, if even tailing this back to Charlie, like, he was so good at that. He lived the fruits of the Spirit. And I think, man, if all of us did that every day, I imagine, like, there would be a revival without us even trying to have a revival, because eventually after a while, people are going to be like, man, I'm tired of feeling miserable and angry all the time. And, like, why are you so happy? I've had people ask me that, like, why are you so happy and positive? Don't you know there's wars and there's turmoil? And I'm like, yeah, it's just a choice. And let me tell you about he that lives in me. That's the only reason. If I go off on my own, I'm going to be as miserable as you are sounding right now. But I have this peace in me from a hope. And I have this guy named Jesus Christ. It's the only guy that's ever lived that death couldn't beat him. that he literally died, got crucified, and rose from the dead and gave us hope for a new life. And so let me tell you about him. And I think if everybody listening out there can just think, like, how can I live more like that? How can I wake up every day and make it my mission to exude the fruits of the Spirit? To live this on fire life that, man, you know what? Maybe we didn't get great service at the restaurant, but maybe that waitress is going through something. Maybe I can try and make their day. How could I turn their day around? Maybe I could give them a compliment or build them up. Just in everyday interactions in life, I think kindness and empathy and compassion, they go a long way. And so I just think as Christ followers, that's what we're called to do. The coolest thing ever about this, it's a cheat code for you living a great life too. And I tell my clients this all the time. I'm like, I did this 2 mornings ago. I was very low energy. I hadn't slept great. And I'm going to the gym at like 5:15. And dude, I'm tired and I'm cranky and I don't really want to be there at all, And I'm like, I'm just going to have a crappy workout and it is what it. And so I took a breath and I thought, I'm going to go make somebody's day today. And I said, the first person I see when I walk into that gym, I'm going to make their day. I'm going to have them talking about the interaction that I have with them all day. So I see this sweet lady, 81 years old. I've seen her in the gym many times before. And I just walked up to her right away. I took my headphone out and I said, ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt your workout. I just have to tell you, I've seen you here over the last 6 months. you inspire me so much. I said, I want to be you. In 40 years, I want to be lifting weights. I said, can I just give you a hug and say thank you? You are an amazing person to be in the gym 5 days a week in your 80s. And she gave me a huge hug, told me she liked my tank top. Her name's Lois. She's a 2-time cancer survivor. She told me all about her kids. We sat there and chatted for 10 minutes, gave each other a hug. I left that. I walked into the gym about a 2 out of 10 energy. After that conversation, I was a 10 out of 10. I killed the workout, on fire the rest of the day. And I think if you can internalize that one thing, life's a mirror. And if you're feeling low, you're getting inside your head and you're down, go make somebody else's day. You will. I think God designed the universe like that you can't be kind to others and help others without actually helping you. And so I've really used that and leveraged that as a cheat code for my life. Like when me and my wife go out to dinner, we don't say, I hope the service is good. We literally say, we're going to go make somebody's day. We're going to go make that waitress's day, whether that be a great tip, a nice kind note, building her up, saying thank you a lot, all the things that we can do, right? And I just imagine a world where everybody lived like that. Like, man, that would be amazing. That's what I share mostly and what I hope for.
Tyler, this has been 2 years in the making and well worth the wait. Appreciate you hopping on today and doing this.
Well, let's do it again sometime, Shaun. I'd love to have an even at more length discussion. And man, I'd love to promote your conference any way that I can and help too, man. I love your mission and what you're doing. So I'm really grateful to come on, man, and share.
Thanks again.